How's it going, everybody? Today's video is in regards to something that the majority of people will never say. I feel like the majority of things that are online are focused on like proving some sort of, always trying to tell you one more thing that you need to add to your routine. And there's so much noise within everyone's life. Like, for me, I'm at the point where I'm almost at the point of constant stimulation, and it's extremely fatiguing because I almost feel this compulsion to always be doing something. Every single video you watch is yelling in your face, and I'm not saying I can't get that way, but there needs to be silence, because silence is where you actually find yourself. If you are constantly getting inputs from the outside world and thoughts that are not your own all day, which is something that I do, I spend so much time not being with myself because I'm kind of I'm afraid to sit with myself and feel my own thoughts. And that's like one of the most dangerous positions ever, because you start losing your identity, you start losing what you actually want to do. Certain feelings to where you're just, dopamine is so fried, you don't want to do nothing, you're irritable. And even though maybe some of the content is somewhat productive or related to the things you do, it ends up getting you nowhere, because I guarantee you right now, you couldn't tell me the past, name 3 reels you watched yesterday, you probably won't be able to remember, and that's the sad reality, is the majority of people are so concerned with all these inputs, all this news, all this noise. It's a never-ending, churning, constant thing. People have no silence in their life. And, for people my age, 17 to 21, 15 to, 14 to 21, that's kind of my group of people. There's this huge push for improvement amongst young men. Like, we are so pressured. Society has such a different standard now. Like, me and you grew up, seeing Andrew Tate, we saw Hamza Ahmed, you see Jordan Peterson, you see all these guys that are pushing their ideology. They're telling you need to do this and this and this. And it's not to say that there isn't some merit to the things that people have to say. It's just, the modern generation now is so focused on improvement, and because we have a greater understanding of the world, we see all these things where the majority of people live unfulfilling lives and don't enjoy their time on earth. They have completely lost the plot. They, quantify their existence by consumption and production, of course. That's the main one, right? That's been kind of trending recently, some TikTok philosophy stuff, but actually it's a very profound statement, because the majority of people are just like completely focused on money. And I want to make a separate video about how the constant chasing of money changes your personality, in my opinion, for worse. And it's not even intentional. It's not necessarily making you a worse person. It just kind of makes you empty, and you look at things so logistically. It's like, life is more than that. I'm a believer that you should take care of yourself. I'm a believer in self-improvement. I believe that every single man on this planet possesses a gift. You possess a gift that you do better than other people. And the majority of people have squandered their potential. We all have a purpose on this planet, and we all have gifts that showed up when we were children. And as you go through school, the education system, you are sort of taken when you are a young boy. You're in a high theta state. You absorb everything that you're told, and you're basically, like a punch card, like graduate A 04973. We're all just a bunch of numbers. And I'm saying all this to say that the biggest thing that's regressing you in your life is constant stimulation. And I'm a huge victim. That's why I'm telling you right now, from 17 to 13, when I was 13, I was thinking that I'd have achieved all these things by 17, and I haven't. you know, and of course that's okay, you know, because life is not all about achievement. And I've found things that I'm passionate about and that I do every day. But I could have started this a long time ago, and I did, but I quit. I didn't have the consistency. I didn't have that mindset. And the biggest thing now is that people do not give their minds a rest, and the majority of people are, I don't even know how to phrase this, but the majority of people do not think. They are so well programmed. Like, there's a split within our generation. It's the people that are noticing these trends, you know, and are actively improving. Guys that, you know, lift weights, you know, maybe they're somewhat awake about things in the political space or how social systems work, you know. And then you've got the other side that's completely entranced by, you know, the dog and pony show, you know what I mean? And the majority of people will work, buy, consume, die. And people are awaking to this. And the biggest thing in life, in my opinion, is finding something you enjoy and dedicating yourself to it, you know, whether it's profitable or not. You know what I mean? You gotta live a dream. You know, if you're one of those people that you know, since you were a child, for example, you were just entranced with, you know, chemistry, for example. We'll say there's I believe her name, I'm sorry, I'm really bad with this stuff, but I believe her name was Marie Curie or something. You know, she discovered chemistry at 4 years old, you know, and she went on to discover things within that space. There are, you know, you have that gift, you know. Everyone has a thing that they stood out when they were a child. And people drift so far away and they get entranced by chasing money, they forget what they're naturally inclined to and what they actually enjoy doing. Because trading your time for money is never a good deal. You can't get time back, and money isn't real, you know, in the sense that, of course it is real, but so many people have devoted their thoughts to it. That's what gives it power. If you look at it, it's just paper, of course, and yes, it's what you need to survive. But if you chase the money, you're not going to get what you need to survive, because mentally you're going to be like, oh my gosh, I'm doing this soulless job 12 hours a day every day. And that's why the majority of people are depressed. And it's because they literally work, hate every second of it, come home and consume to try and forget about the day that they just lived. That's not a life worth living. 40 years go by, you're old, you have nothing, because the social contract that we're given now is not what the boomers had. And now you've done nothing enjoyable in your life. So if there's one thing that I can convey, is that use of drugs and constant distraction, whether it's via video games or whatever the drug of choice may be, everything else around you will keep moving forward. As time does, things move in one direction, and you will continue to regress. Your dopamine, you will not be motivated to do new things. You'll not be motivated to try new things. People used to actually fill their day with things. People don't live, they just scroll. Your metacognition suffers, your gray matter suffers. Everything within you that involves happiness, nothing will feel remotely stimulating, because you're getting a novel reward every single time you do it. That is the modern day cigarette. I work, I have a job. Any moment people get to be on break, it's smoke a cigarette, rip a Zyn, hit the cart, doom scroll on your phone, text somebody, do something, just stimulate. And when you're in that state of mind, you're not creating, you're not discovering, you're not thinking about yourself. You're just, how can I get through this day? How can I get through this day? I just want to be done. You know, and people just want to distract their whole life away. And the biggest thing is real authentic experience in social interaction. But now that everyone's so distracted, it's very hard to find somebody that's willing to sit down, have a conversation, sit down, walk through the woods, or, you know, go through just a normal interaction. You know, if there's a lull in the conversation, someone just wants to get on their phone. And the majority of people do not critically think. We are in an era where this distraction has become so prevalent that people are like cattle, you know. The hive mind that is social media, it's one big thing, and everyone's kind of just turning this way, and AI is making people go this way. That's another thing about that I mentioned about metacognition. If you are outsourcing your thoughts and problems to AI constantly, or even worse, you have a parasocial relationship with AI, which many people do, unfortunately, particularly young women, but I'm not going to go on that discussion today. It's almost like their friend, and it's an algorithm, man. I'm not saying it doesn't have some level of sentience. It's a whole different conversation. Maybe you could say there's some agent element to it, but that's not what I'm talking about right now. The biggest takeaways from this video, I've gone into a lot of different things, is if you want to discover yourself, if you want to become more secure within yourself, and you want to feel better about you as an individual, and you want to be able to look within yourself and slowly reduce that distraction. I'm not perfect. I'm far from it, but I've reduced drug use, and I'm slowly reducing my time doing those things, because when you do them, you lose yourself in the process, and you are further and further disconnecting. It's a vote to disconnect. And one of the biggest things I learned from a book that I read is every single thing you do is a vote for the person you want to be. It's on a microscopic level, but these things cannot be ignored, because the cumulative effect happens. You know, that's where the trap is just the one time. Just skip the workout one time. Just doom scroll one more time. Just relapse one more time. You know, these things, it's like, oh yeah, I made that decision once, but actually you make that decision every day, and it's been 3 years and you're not where you want to be. Whatever that goal is for you, you know, everyone has different ambitions, and who am I to sit here and tell you what your life should be? There's a base principle of morality and things that the world runs on, and things that are right and wrong, but at the end of the day, people are passionate about different things, and the way that I see the world is not the way that you see the world necessarily. So whatever you feel would help you quantify your existence and enjoy your time on this planet, who am I to say that you're wrong? But what I will question is, do you truly enjoy these hedonistic habits? The majority of people doom scrolling, their facial expression will never change. When you play video games, oftentimes it's not even fun anymore. We're not kids anymore, you know, and I want to make a video about childhood as well. But if you have fun during these things, like popping on a game with your friend, that's meaningful. You do something with your day, and then you spend time hanging out in the game. There's nothing wrong with that. But sitting there doom scrolling and frying your brain is a whole nother thing. Video games can have a place. They can, but things like now, at the age of 17, substance abuse gets us nowhere. You know, maybe some social time, fair, but you're not going to, like I said, you're not going to progress. Your body is going to become unhealthy, and you are going to, it's like a catch-22, because if you're using a substance, you're chasing a feeling that you can't have all the time, and it's fleeting, and as soon as it's gone, you want it more, but the feeling becomes less. So over time, you crave it more and more, and you take more and more, you do more and more damage. The poison does more and more damage to your body, whatever the substance is, no matter what. You feel it less, you enjoy it less, and it causes more harm. Not to say that it doesn't have a place. I'm not going to be the person that's like, you must be totally sober all the time. But if you want to get ahead now, if you want to separate yourself now, and make sure that you kind of just don't slip away, because those things kind of make you kind of afraid of taking a big leap. You think about something that's kind of scary, kind of ambitious. When you're intoxicated, you kind of shy away, you know. So those things can really set you off path. So the bottom line here is, if you want to get ahead, stop distracting yourself, spend time with yourself, and you will naturally figure out who you are. Your identity problems stem from that. You will feel happier naturally. Things that happen around you will be more enjoyable, and your days will feel longer. Life will not be as much of a blur. And I think overall, it's just beneficial to get away from people's thoughts, because there's so many inputs everywhere that are not helpful. I understand you're inputting a thought right now, but this is somewhat of a more peaceful thing. I'm not screaming at you. There's not 20 things blowing up in your face. It's just me talking to a camera. Fucking hell, I know you could be sitting there just walking, talking, whatever. That's really all I have to say. So let me know if you enjoyed the video. God bless.